Okay, Renea Parker. I'm very excited to have you here, and I know it's tough. It's hard for you to be here right now, but I think there's a lot of people who are going to benefit from this short little message and maybe a couple of tips that we're going to share. Um, for everybody, my name is Natalie Fuller. I'm a Diamond Ambassador, and Renea is back with Plexus, formerly an Emerald Ambassador with Plexus. In fact, Renea, what year did you start Plexus?
2013.
Okay, 2013. So for a little bit of background, in 2013, Renea and I and Renea's husband, David, and my husband, Rick, the four of us met in Amelia Island.
Mm-hmm.
And we created a really great bond back in Amelia Island. They had been out watching the sunset early in the morning, and we met in a little breakfast spot in the hotel, and we developed a relationship. It was only 1 month later, sadly, it was our last Plexus event together that I had with my husband. He passed away the next month, but Renea and David and I continued a friendship. And I always look forward to Leaders Retreat and Maui and convention to spend time with David and Renea. So I was super, super sad when I had heard that Renea left. And as I do with most people who leave, I don't cut off my friendship with them. I let them know that I'm still there, sadly, sometimes cheering them on somewhere else, but I want them to know that whatever decision they make, that's their decision. And so I was sad when David and Renea left, but in December of last year, just a little over 2 months ago, I sent a message to Renea, and I said, kind of jokingly, but always serious too, but I said, "Are you ready to come home?" And what did you say?
Well, I was a little bit nervous about that, but I did miss Plexus a lot, and I really hadn't truly thought about coming home until you said something.
We chatted, and you were quite emotional about it. And it really got me thinking that, I have no doubt that if you could go back and do it again, you would do it differently, right? Yep. You wouldn't have left. Nope. And I remember talking to you that day, and you said, I miss it so much. I miss the products. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize how much the products had done for me, right? Your health, we'll share that a little bit. What happened when you stopped taking the products?
Well, my health completely went down the drain shortly after stopping the Plexus products. And I honestly started taking some other products from another company about the same time, but they did not do for my body the way, especially the triplex combo did for me. Within 1 year of being off of the Plexus products, I started having incredible health issues and I'd never had a surgery before in my life. And in 1 month's time, I had to have 2 surgeries that I truly believe are directly a result of coming off of the Plexus products and my health falling apart after being at the best health that I'd ever been. My health had been better than it had ever been in my life when I was on the triplex combo for 6 years. And then when I came off of them, it just took 1 year for it to all fall apart.
It all fell apart. Mm-hmm. And when did you go Emerald in Plexus?
9 months after I joined. So in 2013, I joined February 2nd, 2013. And by, was it October, I believe, or November? I can't even remember now, but I became an Emerald.
Yeah. So you did it really fast, and it changed your life, right? The income changed your life.
It absolutely did. It changed my life in such a huge way. I was never able to take my kids on a vacation prior to Plexus, and we were able to go to the beach. I was able to take one of my daughters to Maui for her birthday 1 year, Disney World. But more than anything, my husband and I were able to have a lot more time freedom than what we ever had before. And during those young years of our 4 daughters' lives, we were able to be present more than what we ever would have imagined being. And it was a huge blessing for us.
So then a couple of years ago, I know you loved Plexus. You were focused on Plexus. You were a cheerleader for Plexus. Mm-hmm. And then somebody kind of got you looking sideways. What happened? What happened there?
Yeah, just like what you said, I had my blinders on. I was the Plexus girl. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew that my roots were planted with Plexus. And I think it was probably the perfect storm kind of happened in just a season and time in my life. I feel like maybe even though I was really happy, I always used to teach about the 4 pillars of belief with Plexus. I had belief in the products. I knew that the products were incredible for me, but at the same time, I probably did take them a little bit for granted, not realizing what would happen if I went off of the products, because if I knew that, I would have never stopped taking them. I had belief in the company. I believed so much in Tarl and Alec. And it's funny because when I did shift to another company for that period of time, there were times that leadership in that company would almost make fun of the products or the leadership at Plexus, and I stood up for them. I was like, no, that is not, you don't even know. So, I mean, I had that belief, and I obviously had belief in the compensation plan because, like I just said, it gave us so many incredible opportunities. And then myself, I believed at the time that I had belief 150% in myself, but now that I'm looking back, I'm kind of thinking maybe I didn't. But what I'm realizing is, although I was really happy at Plexus, I think that there was something missing. And it was just a little season of time in my life where I was kind of looking around and didn't know where my place was. I felt like I didn't have a seat at the table. And I really wanted to have a seat at the table. And what I mean by that is there was a big break in leadership in my upline and downline. And I felt like I was kind of treading water alone because there was so many levels up before there was someone that was actively working the business in my upline. And there was several levels deep before there was someone that was a big leader in Plexus that was in my downline. And so when we would go on these trips or we would go places, I would look around and kind of be wanting a seat at the table, but didn't know where I fit. And it was during that time that randomly I met someone that was local to me, that was a big leader in another company, who said all the right things and made me start believing that maybe I wasn't where I needed to be. And those blinders came down for just a short period of time. And I made the decision to leave Plexus, even as an Emerald ambassador. Sometimes I wonder, what was I thinking?
But it also speaks to the fact that those 4 pillars are so critical. And it also reminds me as a leader that everybody in our team needs to feel valued. And you had great support, and you've spoken really positively about the support that was available to you. But it reminds me that if we see people that we look up to and we want to be around, and we're not necessarily included all the time, and you can't always be included, but if as a leader, if you are kind of carrying the burden yourself, and it's tiring and it's lonely. Leadership is lonely anyway. But if you're carrying that burden all the time by yourselves, and one of the best things at Plexus is that most of the time our leadership really do share with one another. It's one of our benefits of Plexus. We really work closely together, but we all can be vulnerable sometimes. So it caught you at a vulnerable time, but you also had enough courage and enough, you were humble enough to be able to come back and say, I want to be back home, because all those pillars are still there. And I think you said to me earlier that when you leave, you're still with yourself, right? You're still taking yourself. So if you're the, how did you say it? If you're the common denominator.
Yep. Yeah, you're always going to be the common denominator. So wherever you go, you're never going to leave yourself. You're the one person that you will always be around all the time. So that's kind of what I started, asking myself in my mind is, and this is going to be for anybody who may be thinking about leaving. Okay. If you are with Plexus now and you have that seed of doubt in your mind and you start thinking that the grass may be greener somewhere else, I want you to remember that you have to take yourself with you. So what are you going to do differently? Okay. If you're going to do something different to build a business somewhere else, why not do something
Different
here?
here.
Try
Yeah.
it here, because honestly, I have experienced a couple different compensation plans. There is nothing like the Plexus compensation plan. I remember hearing Natalie say that before, and I believed her. But then you don't, like, I had never experienced anything else. I had nothing else to compare it to. So if you are an ambassador with Plexus and you have kind of caught yourself looking sideways and thinking that maybe the grass is greener somewhere else, take it from somebody who's done it. The grass isn't greener anywhere else. The grass is greener where you water it. And if I could do anything over, I would have just watered my grass, because what I learned is, we were just talking about how I kind of felt lonely and I didn't know, I didn't have a place. I didn't feel like I had a place at the table. What I realized whenever I left Plexus, looking back on that now, I remember reaching out to people on my team specifically just to let them know that I was leaving. And I didn't talk to anyone that wasn't my level one, unless I was saying something like this: I'm not going to try to recruit you, and I will not be trying to recruit your team. I think you're doing incredible at Plexus, and I think you should stay here. And I think that you're doing a great job. You know, that's the conversation that I had. But what I did is I left them. And I feel like I abandoned them and I hurt them by doing that. So in turn, how I was feeling alone, I ended up treating people the same way. I didn't realize it at the time, but now that I'm looking back on it, I know that I did. So I want you to think about that too, because you may look back, if you choose to take that path, and regret it like I did, because you'll lose some friendships and you'll hurt some people that maybe you wish that you hadn't have.
And you talked about how, it hurt your credibility, and you're rebuilding that. You have to rebuild that. And that takes courage. That's taking courage to do that, because you're putting yourself in a place you didn't have to put yourself back into. I'm just really grateful. Because I think it's a lesson that a lot of people are going to go through, and hopefully they'll have an opportunity to think twice and think about what you've been through. It's been very painful for you, extraordinarily painful, a lot more than you're sharing here, because it's hard to share. But it's also, maybe this is a lesson that a lot of people are going to benefit from. And maybe there's a reason that you're here to teach that lesson to them. And, the great thing is, you've done it once, you can do it again. You'll take it back to Emerald and beyond. Your flag is planted. You aren't going anywhere. You know the setbacks, the obstacles, all of the things that you have to go through. And you're just going through it stronger, more experienced, in a bigger vision. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful I made that call and said, are you ready to come home? And that you had the courage and the humility to do that. Because myself, this is my fourth company I've taken to a 6-figure income. People know I'm a compensation person. And when I looked at Plexus, I knew from a compensation perspective, there was nothing better. But what I fell in love with Plexus was the community and culture here. What Alec and Tarl have created I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, does not exist anywhere else. The perfect storm you described is getting somebody like Sheila Medina as our first ambassador, who set a tone and helped to create this culture at Plexus of loving and giving and kindness. And that isn't out there anywhere else. I think people would be really sadly disappointed to leave and see what really exists in most network marketing companies, because our reputation has been well earned. The negative stuff of network marketing has been earned, and Plexus is just not like any of that. So I hope that people don't have to experience what you have experienced, because we are just so lucky here. But even with all that, we have people that will feel lonely, and we'll have people that will have that perfect storm like you did. And we just have to have an open heart. We have to have lots of conversation. We have to make sure that we make everybody feel comfortable, loved, embraced, and have a seat at the table, like you talked about. That's our lesson. That's our lesson that are in here, that we need to do that and keep having conversation. And I hope that if there is anybody thinking about this, that they get the opportunity to see this short interview, Renee, because I'm just so grateful. Plexus is blessed to have you back. And I think there's a lot of people that will benefit from your message. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you welcoming me back. This is to you and to everyone in Plexus, because this does feel like home to me, and I'm so glad to be home.